After we created the template, we are going to continue to create the render content functions. So we copy this name and go to the UI.js, and then we create a constant render context. And in this function, we are going to generate the template and output to the DOM, and we will pass data and the ID to these functions. And first, we are going to create a constant HTML to store the template that we just created in the previous lecture. So we can cut this list item, and then we go back to the UI.js and use the backtick and paste the list item here. We need to update the detail inside this template, like phone numbers and the name. So how can we output the variables inside the template string? The way to do this is by using the $, and then the curly braces. So we put the data.name, and also using the data.phone to replace this dummy data. The next thing is we need to output the ID of the document into two different places. The first place is here, the data ID equal to $ID. We also need to add this to this div. We paste it to the parent of this icon, so we can easily grab the ID and query the database to delete or update document with this ID. And since we want to output to the place called context, so we back to the UI.js file and go to the top of the file and create the constant context is equal to document.querySelector, and then we want to get the div with the class of context, so we put the context here. We want to append this HTML to the div, and since we already store the div to the constant context, and then we can use this context dot inner HTML plus equal the HTML. So this will append this template to the context, this unordered list. So we save. We forget to put a dot here because this is a class name. And also we have to save the index.html file. So we go back to the web page. And now you can see the name and also the different phone numbers rendered here. And we can see there are some mistakes here. We should use data ID equal, just like this one, and save it. Now you can see the data ID displayed at the whole list item and also the div which are around the icons. And we also need to add the style and test align right. And here we also use ternary operator, that if this is favorite, then this is star, otherwise this is star border. So at last we save, and this should be a string. Now you cannot see much difference here, but if you change the favorite to true from the Firebase and update, and then if you refresh, now you can see the star is filled rather than empty.